I never intended to help anyone. It wasn't a reflex either. It was just a careless act of helping someone by accident. This incident had a significant impact on my life. Unbeknownst to me, those around me started creating a version of me that wasn't really me. I had no choice but to accept this strange situation. I was expected to live not the life I wanted, but the life others wanted for me. At first, it was painful. One day, I was surprised to realize I no longer felt anything. That incident. When I rushed into the house that was about to be engulfed in flames, it wasn't out of a desire to help or a reflex. I merely entrusted my life to the whims of whatever God was out there. As a result, I survived and am still alive today. Whether it was the act of a god or not is questionable, but a mark was left on my body, as if to remind me that my life was spared. It's been 10 years since then. Labeled a good person, I was obligated to live up to that image. The real me doesn't exist, it's the good person version of me walking through life. I took a job at a local advertising agency because I didn't want to leave my grandmother who raised me alone. My parents divorced when I was young, and each of them has built happy families since then. In other words, I was a discarded child. During the divorce, there was a huge argument because neither parent wanted to take me. They both had new partners, after all. A child would be a burden in a divorce. I was raised by my grandparents. I don't think I was a problematic child, misbehaving or being a shut-in. My grandparents who raised me with love have passed away. In the spring, when there was no longer a reason for me to stay in my hometown, a transfer order suddenly came my way. It was a transfer to the head office's sales department. Seeing this as an opportunity, I quickly sold the house and land I inherited from my grandparents and prepared to start a new life in a new place. But all that effort was wasted on the first day. David is a person full of integrity and courage, who once saved a girl's life by rushing into a burning house when he was in high school. Tom, the manager, introduced me this way during the morning assembly on my first day after the transfer, and my world went dark. I wanted a fresh start. I was serious about it. But my new colleagues looked at me the same way people in my hometown did. In that moment of despair, it was clear that even here, I couldn't be my true self. That personal story doesn't matter. A cold, exasperated voice said. I instinctively looked to see who spoke. There stood a woman with long, loosely curled hair, sharply dressed in a suit. She looked like a career woman and seemed unapproachable. But she was incredibly beautiful. I could believe it if someone said she was an actress. Her makeup was flawless, and her posture was perfectly straight. She exuded confidence. David, this is our chief, Anna. She will be your direct supervisor. Tom addressed me, seemingly ignoring her words. It looked like she would be my mentor as well. I'm David. Nice to meet you. I greeted her. She looked me up and down, as if appraising me. I got a slightly unpleasant feeling. I'm Anna. Prove your worth to me by working hard, she said, completely dismissing my attempt to reach out. I sighed deeply inside. My new life seemed full of challenges, and I worried if I could make it. I couldn't imagine myself working well with this beautiful but stern boss. The only saving grace was the kindness of my colleagues. They quickly accepted me, the newcomer, and taught me the ropes, despite my lack of sales experience. Thanks to their help, I managed to fit into the new workplace by the end of the first month. Every day, I faced reprimands and harsh words from Anna. Initially, her words made me upset and depressed, but upon reflection, I realized she wasn't wrong. After that realization, I could accept her harsh words more sincerely. As a result, my sales performance began to improve rapidly. Now, I am grateful to her. It looks like you've finally grown into a decent employee. Let's have the welcome party we've postponed, Anna said to me around 2 months after my transfer to the head office. The welcome party was supposed to be held when I first transferred. The one who put a stop to it was, of course, Anna. She directly appealed to Tom, insisting that I needed to learn the job first before having a welcome party. I also asked him, please prioritize work, next to Anna. The fact that a welcome party was being planned meant I had met Anna's standards. I was more pleased about that than the actual party and couldn't help but grin. Thank you. You're still just halfway there. Anna gave a wry smile in response to my loud expression of gratitude. It was the first time I saw her smile. even if it was just a wry smile. Even so, she looked incredibly attractive. The welcome party was held at a small Spanish restaurant that we had rented out. It had a small courtyard with tables, creating an open and inviting atmosphere. My colleagues seemed to be in high spirits in this relaxed setting. After the initial greetings and a toast, everyone started eating and drinking freely. This kind of party was a new experience for me. It felt very urban, making me feel a bit out of place as someone from the countryside. As I reacted appropriately to the conversations of my teammates, I thought about this. It made me realize that I still hadn't quite adjusted to this city. I sighed quietly, trying not to draw attention, and looked around the venue for a quiet spot to drink. In the courtyard, I noticed Anna sitting alone on a bench, sipping her drink. I discreetly slipped away from my colleagues, grabbed a few pinchos on a plate, and approached her. "Anna, may I sit here?" I asked softly. She looked up from her drink and glared at me. Her eyes were slightly red, which was surprisingly alluring. She seemed tipsy, but her gaze was steady. I might have chosen a bad time to approach her. A cold sweat ran down my back. "Sure," she said, slightly slurring her words, and scooted over to make space for me. Having come this far, there was no way I could say, "Never mind," so I cautiously sat down on the bench. I caught a glimpse of Anna's profile, and it wasn't her usual stern boss look, she just looked like a regular drunk. A really beautiful drunk, at that. "Here, have some." When I offered the plate of pinchos, Anna's eyes lit up with delight. The contrast with her workplace demeanor left me speechless. "You are thoughtful." "Thanks." She happily munched on a pincho, clearly in high spirits. She swung her legs like a child, causing her elegant high heels to dangle precariously from her toes. "You seem in a good mood." "I just love good food and good drinks." She reached for a second pincho as she spoke. It was clear she had been drinking quite a bit. Right after the toast, she had been her usual self. Perhaps she wasn't very good with alcohol. "Hey, tell me about your heroic story." "Tom mentioned it on your first day," she said with drowsy eyes. I sighed softly. It's not a story to tell to a drunk person. But with Anna looking up at me with eager eyes, I couldn't bring myself to refuse. "It's not much of a story." I prefaced my tale before starting to talk. "It happened when I was 17. It's a day I don't like to remember, as it was the worst day of my life. After my parents divorced, I was raised by my grandparents. I foolishly believed that one day either my father or mother would come back for me. My grandparents didn't talk much about my parents, which only fueled my faint hope. If they had bluntly told me, 'You're an unwanted child,' it might have hurt less. By the time I was in high school, I had various ways to search for my parents. I secretly looked for them, believing there was a reason they hadn't come for me. Eventually, I succeeded in finding their whereabouts. Back then, I believed there was a reason they hadn't come for me, and I was convinced that if I visited them, they would welcome me with open arms. That naive hope was quickly shattered. Both my mother and father were living happily with their new families. I remember feeling tears well up as I watched from a street corner while my father's family enjoyed a barbecue in their yard. I couldn't bring myself to call out to them. My mother was even worse. When I visited, she asked in a panic, "Do you need money?" Apparently, she had told her current husband that she had no children from her previous marriage. She panicked, thinking I had come to blackmail her for money. I wasn't welcomed or apologized to, just treated as a nuisance. Deeply hurt, I left my mother's place without shedding a tear. In my hand were several crumpled $100 bills that she had thrust at me. "I see. My parents are divorced too. I guess you and I are alike. So, did you run into the fire on that same day?" Anna sighed, her eyes distant as if remembering something. Encouraged to continue, I resumed my story slowly. While walking in a daze, I saw flames rising from a small one-story house. The fire trucks hadn't arrived yet, and neighbors were trying to extinguish the fire with garden hoses. I watched in a daze, blending in with the onlookers. Someone gasped, and when I turned around I saw a girl with her mouth covered in frozen. She must have been connected to the burning house. When I tried to speak to her as she trembled, she noticed me, looked startled as if she was about to jump, and then turned on her heel and ran away. The fire trucks still hadn't arrived. Having come to this town for the first time to visit my mother, I had no sense of the area. I didn't know who lived in that house or who might be inside at that time. But from the panic around me, I could tell someone was trapped inside. I walked unsteadily towards the burning house. Looking back, I might have been acting out of desperation. I slipped through the adults trying to put out the fire and found myself inside the house before I realized it. I could hear the screams and shouts of the adults behind me. It struck me as funny, and I remember laughing out loud. Strangers worried about me, while my own parents didn't want me. The absurdity of my misfortune made me laugh. The fire hadn't spread throughout the house yet, it was smoky and hard to breathe but still bearable. For a moment, I thought it might be okay if my life ended here. To die trying to save someone in a fire, a heroic end like that would make my grandparents proud and justify my existence. As the fire consumed the furniture with a crackling roar, I slowly moved further inside. I wanted to know who was trapped. I had no intention of rescuing anyone. I was a terrible person. Stop spacing out. Help me. A voice snapped me back to reality, as if slapping me across the face. I looked and saw a girl with a soot-blackened face crawling on the floor. The fire hasn't reached us yet, so you can get out on your own, right? I pointed towards the entrance, annoyed by the younger girl's scolding. Help me. I can't do it alone. As she crawled towards me, her legs were so thin they seemed to lack any muscle. A wheelchair lay toppled over in the corner. You can't walk. Isn't it obvious? Hurry up and help me, she commanded, gripping my arm tightly. Her unexpected strength made me stagger, and I hit my side against a cabinet handle. I felt a searing pain and smelled something unpleasant. It seemed the handle was made of brass. As I staggered, my shirt rode up, and the handle branded my side like a hot iron. Ow! That hurts! I cried out instinctively. The smoke was getting thicker. It hurts, right? That's proof you're alive. I still have things to do, so get me out of here. You came in looking like your life was over. But it's not. I wondered how long she had been watching me. Startled, I looked at her. I felt a strong light in her eyes. It was a powerful will to live. Why do you look like you've given up on life? I'll take care of your life, so struggle a bit more. Her words pushed me, and I quickly picked her up. I'll never forget how light she felt. Light, but carrying a heavy life. The rest was a blur. As soon as I rushed out the front door, water was sprayed on me, and firefighters began hosing down the fire. That's when I blacked out. All I could focus on was the stinging pain of the burn on my side. That's my heroic story. It's pathetic, isn't it? Just a youthful folly, I said, laughing self-deprecatingly. Anna shook her head slowly. Her long hair swayed gently, and a pleasant scent wafted over. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you remember unpleasant things. She touched my cheek with her slender fingers. Don't cry, she said. Startled, I touched my cheek and realized I had been crying without knowing it. I suddenly felt embarrassed and covered my face with both hands. Please don't look at me. I'm sorry for crying over something like this. Are you embarrassed? That's cute, Anna teased. Her words made me even more embarrassed, and I couldn't lift my head. Want to hear an embarrassing story of mine? Without waiting for my response, Anna began to speak. She told me about her childhood. Like me, she had desperately searched for her divorced parents. The difference was that my parents weren't happy. Her father was lost to alcohol, and her mother, who had always been mentally fragile, was living in a mental hospital. Neither my mother nor my father recognized me. It's laughable, right? I couldn't help but look up at her after this unexpected confession, meeting her shy smile. So, I understand your despair. She said this quietly, looking straight into my eyes. After that, I had an argument with my childhood friend. Feeling desperate, she visited her childhood friend's house and talked about her parents. She laughed self-deprecatingly, saying she just wanted some comfort. But instead of comforting her, her friend laughed at her story. Her friend said, kids grow up without parents, and life goes on, which made Anna so angry that she pushed her friend and ran away. And then things got really bad. She stopped talking at that point. Sensing it wasn't the right time to ask for more details, I averted my gaze. A pair of expensive-looking high heels lay discarded nearby. The discarded high heels reminded me of the toppled wheelchair from that time. Slowly, I stood up, picked up the heels, and gently placed them on Anna's left foot. "Thank you," she said in a barely audible voice. I could only nod in response. From that day, after sharing our secrets, the distance between Anna and me gradually lessened. She remained a strict boss at work, but we began to share private moments, like meals and movies. Although we both felt a mutual attraction, we couldn't seem to cross the line. We shared many frustratingly ambiguous moments. "David, what should I do?" One day, after work, Anna stopped me, looking pale. I had never seen her so shaken. "What's wrong? You look really pale." Her anxiety seemed to infect me, and my heart began to pound. I got a message from Melissa, my childhood friend. She got my contact information through mutual friends. I gently patted her back, trying to calm her. "I can't face her. She'll never forgive me." Her uncharacteristically timid words left me stunned. Who could possibly intimidate Anna this much? I couldn't help but feel curious about this person. "If you don't want to meet her alone, would you like me to come with you?" The words tumbled out of my mouth before I could think. Anna looked at me in surprise. Realizing how presumptuous I had been, I quickly tried to backtrack. I'm sorry for being so forward, especially since I'm not your boyfriend or anything." Unable to bear her intense gaze, I tried to cover up my blunder. She must think I'm being too presumptuous. I started to sweat, worried that I had ruined our budding relationship with my careless words. "Sure. Will you come with me? If you will, I might be able to apologize to her." Anna murmured absently. "If I can help, I'd be glad to." I felt a mix of relief and excitement at her unexpected response, and I must have looked quite odd to anyone watching. But at that moment, I was genuinely happy that Anna was relying on me. I finally had a chance to be on the same level as her. That's how I felt. We were supposed to meet her childhood friend tomorrow night. The place was the Spanish restaurant where my welcome party had been held. As the end of the workday approached, I felt more and more nervous, almost dizzy. Still, after work, seeing her freshly made-up face gave me a boost of confidence. I didn't know what had happened, but I swore to myself that I would always be on her side. "She's probably already there. She's very punctual," Anna said, reminiscing. I straightened up in front of the restaurant, readying myself. A bit embarrassed, I decided to say what I'd been thinking. "No matter what happens, I'm always on your side, Anna," I said with a smile. She looked a bit taken aback, then gave me a very happy smile. "Thank you," she said as she opened the door to the restaurant. The restaurant wasn't reserved for us today, so there were many other customers. The place was lively and packed. She told the server about our reservation. We were led to a table in the courtyard. In the dim light, I could see someone already seated there. Anna squeezed my hand tightly. Surprised, I tried to stay calm and smiled, saying, "It's okay." She led me to the table where her childhood friend was waiting. "Melissa, it's been so many years." At Anna's call, the seated woman looked up. A small face with very pale skin. But there was a red scar on her slender, pale neck. She brushed her long black hair over her back with a delicate hand and smiled at us. "It's really been a long time, Anna. How have you been?" Her voice was a bit husky. It was almost like it was worn from drinking. "Is this your husband? Or your boyfriend?" she teased, looking up at Anna. "We're not like that," Anna said as she sat down. I hurried to sit as well. "Melissa, this is my co-worker, David. I wasn't feeling well, so he came with me." Anna introduced me. "I'm David. Nice to meet you." I greeted her, and Melissa also gave a slight nod, saying, "Hello." Anna had said they were childhood friends, but Melissa looked younger than me. Anna was like an older sister to me. I'd been looking for her for a long time, Melissa said when we all had our drinks. I was worried I might have hurt her. Anna was surprised by Melissa's words. But I don't regret what I said back then. I believed you should live your own life, Anna. There are plenty of people who could comfort you with empty words. Saying this, Melissa poured red wine from the decanter into her empty glass. She lowered her eyes slightly and gave a self-deprecating smile. Maybe she was recalling the situation that caused their falling out. I realized that much later in life. I used to be swayed by those shallow, kind words, Anna said, downing her wine in one gulp. I felt a bit worried that she might be drinking too much. As an apology, I'll prove that you can shape your own destiny. That's why I found you, Anna, Melissa said, clicking her heels and standing up from her chair. I watched her casually, not thinking much of it. But Anna, beside me, widened her eyes in shock, unable to speak. She seemed to forget to breathe for a moment. This is the future I achieved on my own. Melissa clicked her heels as she stood beside Anna. Then she twirled around, making her long skirt flare out like petals. Wait, you can walk? How? Why? How? Anna repeated how in confusion, and Melissa smiled wryly. I couldn't just talk big to you without proving it myself. The rehab was tough, but I managed. Sorry it took so long, Melissa said, and tears welled up in Anna's eyes. Apparently, Melissa had been in a wheelchair. Now, she was spinning around in front of us, fully recovered. It must have taken a tremendous amount of rehab and effort. And you, stand up for a moment, she commanded with a slender finger. I stood up, confused, and the next moment, she yanked my shirt out of my pants and looked at my side. I was stunned by the sudden action. I knew it. It's still there. Look, Anna, this heart. Remember? Melissa laughed, pointing at my side, urging Anna to look. With tears still in her eyes, Anna peered at my side. There was the scar from the burn. The heart-shaped mark from the handle was still clearly visible as a burn scar. That tacky handle design, just as it was. Melissa laughed heartily, seeing the 3 heart-shaped burn marks. I couldn't believe it, but her reaction was unmistakable. Could you be the girl in the wheelchair from back then? Melissa nodded yes and looked at me with incredibly kind eyes. Her compassionate expression made my heart skip a beat. How did you recognize me? Melissa chuckled softly at my question. Who wouldn't look into the person who saved their life? It seemed Melissa had been looking into me for a long time. And she said she was surprised by the coincidence that I became Anna's co-worker. Thanks for saving me back then. I'm returning your life that I owed. But honestly, I wanted to keep you all to myself. Because you were my hero. But I'll let Anna have you, Melissa said, smiling playfully at Anna. She looked a bit sad, and I didn't think it was just my imagination. Such a coincidence. So, you saw me run away scared when the fire broke out, David? Anna's words brought back the memory of the girl with a pale face running away from the scene. That was Anna. It feels like divine intervention. But I'm satisfied now that everything is resolved. God sure knows how to pull the strings. So, what exactly is your relationship? Melissa asked with a teasing grin, and Anna and I looked at each other as if on cue. Seeing Anna's face turn bright red, I knew this was the moment to make my move. Anna is my precious person. She's the only woman I want to protect by my side forever. I was surprised by the loudness of my own voice coming from the depths of my stomach. After a moment of silence, there was loud applause from inside the restaurant and from the other tables in the courtyard. Way to go, man, someone shouted, making me suddenly feel embarrassed. So, what's your answer? Prompted for a response, Anna nodded slightly and said, I want you by my side too. I felt like a miracle had happened. There was another round of applause and cheers from the restaurant. Melissa looked at us with satisfaction. Now I've repaid my debt. You better make sure you're happy with Anna, or I won't forgive you. I nodded yes vigorously at Melissa's words and squeezed Anna's hand tightly. We'll definitely be happy. Our lives are ours to live. I felt incredibly proud of myself as I said those words,